Catherine, thank you so much for joining us here today. Maybe just say hello to people before we continue.
Hello everybody, and I would like to welcome you to Castello dell'Amore. Castello dell'Amore is a product of Samantha's Bridal. Castello dell'Amore means the castle of love, and literally this is a castle of love. This is where we host small parties for people who are getting married or any other party, like a birthday party. Recently we hosted Bahati Diana. She had a beautiful party. I'm sure you saw that. You've watched Adhiambo, the song. It was shot here. And yes, should you choose to have your party here, I'm going to be your hostess. And so I would like to welcome you. And hopefully one day I'm going to give you a guided tour. Very soon, in fact.
We're looking forward to that guided tour because from what I can just see here on the table, if this is what you have to offer from just, the first contact or the first thing I'm seeing, I'm extremely excited about the rest of the house. It's really, truly beautiful. But Catherine, today we're talking about hosting. When you're hosting people, when you're having people come over to your house, first of all, there's a misconception around it, and sometimes people fear hosting. And I'm just wondering, why would someone fear having people over?
There are many reasons. First of all, a lot of people find hosting parties very stressful. And what are the reasons that make hosting sometimes stressful? The first thing is that a lot of times people feel maybe their house or their space is not good enough. Yeah? And that is really sad, really sad. Or they feel maybe it's not big enough, or, things like that. But there are tricks, and, which we talked about in the last episode. For example, if you don't have a big table, you can just push everything aside, and that's sometimes what I do. I push everything aside if I have many people and it's just the table, and the table will act as the place to serve food, and it really looks good. So you shouldn't worry about that, because then you can put people to sit in smaller groups and you can just serve a buffet.
Okay.
You don't have to have, so I don't want people to feel pressure that you must have a proper set table like this one.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing that makes people feel stressed about is because they feel they have to spend a lot of money and it's expensive. And while it is true, hosting can be expensive, but which is why I gave some few tricks that invest. When you're buying things for your home, invest in good things. In terms of color, in terms of texture, you can hack around these things. Like if you buy things that have good texture, that really look good, colors are harmonious, and the quality is good. So that's why, for the first setting that we are doing for Castello dell'Amore, we didn't bring any party designer or something to set. I just used everything truly from my wardrobe kitchen, yeah, and to set it up. And this is what I do every day. If you come to my house, you're going to get something that looks almost like this. The people who've been to my house, they know this is my traditional way that I set a party. But the last thing I want to say about people fearing to host a party is that think about the last party you went to. What do you remember? The one you really enjoyed. Eunice, what do you remember about that party? The last party you went to that you really enjoyed?
I think it's just the overall vibe and good time, really. I remember I had a great time, like the vibe, the host was really gracious, and it was just a good time. I did not want to leave, and I had to cause those curfew.
Yes, precisely. That's the thing. Yeah. If you, our dear viewer, just think about the last party you were in, the one you really enjoyed. It's like what Eunice says. A lot of people don't even remember what the host was wearing, even what other people were wearing. Yes, well, you may remember if somebody was really like dressed out of, you may remember that. But people just remember they had an amazing time. What people need to know is that hosting, there are no hard and fast rules, okay? The only rule there is that you need to make people feel comfortable and people need to enjoy. And that is the art that you need to learn. You shouldn't fear about the money. You shouldn't fear about your house not being big enough or not stylish enough or you don't have style. It's so easy because they are your friends. Don't invite people who you don't want to invite. Who are going to judge. You don't invite people you don't like for dinner in your house.
And it's good that you have, touched on rules, because that's this next thing I was going to ask you about. The rules about hosting. Is there any rule, and what should people keep in mind?
Okay, I'll say it again. There are no hard and fast rules. The only rule, very important rule, even though as we go along we'll talk about all those things, I believe, is that you need to make your guests very comfortable. You need to think about a couple of things, for example, like how you're going to seat them, how you're going to make them interact and feel good. Like I talked about last time, you should think about the food, the menu. You need to plan the menu properly so that you think about allergies. You don't want people to leave and they're allergic and they cannot. So you need to cook food that is almost in the same, that a lot of majority of people can really enjoy. And just involve them. That is it. But your most important job is to keep the guests very comfortable. You control the environment. You make sure that people can meet other people that they can talk with, they can converse with. That's really the most important rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me take a sip of this. And so I'm just imagining someone has come to your house. Probably they have not met the other person that is there. How do you introduce them? Do you come and say, Catherine, this is Eunice, this is Catherine? Is there an art to introduction, if any?
Yeah. So what happens is that you've invited people and they're coming. You have to be there to meet them personally at the door. Yeah. It is important that you meet them and you welcome them. That's a given. So the second thing is perhaps you're inviting people who don't know each other.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to blow their trumpet. In fact, it is really good. So for example,
yes, for example,
Eunice here,
and Victor.
She's invited, yeah? And Victor, yeah? So I will be introducing, for example, let me introduce you first, then I introduce Victor.
Okay.
So, hello Victor.
I'm there with my wine at it.
Yes. Please meet Eunice Mwei. Eunice Mwei is a former student of WMBA, and she's one of the best event planners in town. And one of her recent things she's launched in the market, she's having these unique invitation cards for stationery that are very, very interactive. I am sure, because Victor, you're in the same business, I think you too have a lot. I hope before the evening ends, you can really interact and see what you can do together. Okay, so if I was introducing Victor...
Wait, first, even before you introduce Victor,
yes.
I have picked that you sort of brag a bit about the person you're introducing.
Yes.
And then you create a common ground.
Yes.
Common ground, and asking someone, so what do you do? And yeah, it's a really good way of... And it just shows that you hold this person in high esteem.
Yes. So one of the things, do not be afraid to blow the trumpet of your guests.
Yeah.
It's really good because people go to events to network, to meet new people, maybe new opportunities, to get, when we talk about networks.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hallmarks of a good event. I leave with something. I've learned something. I've met new people, interesting and enjoyable. And they're interesting because we had so many things in common. Yeah. Oh, you're the one behind these shows.
Yeah.
I've just been seeing them, so you're the one. So where did you learn everything? How can I get my couples to come, you come and shoot their weddings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So now the guests are there, they are introduced, probably they're having their drinks and whatnot, and it's time to eat. And probably you have a beautiful space like this one and you want to sit down. Is there a particular way that these people should be seated? And if so, can I just come and sit here and the other person sits there? Or is there any thought that goes behind seating arrangements?
Yes and no. But mostly yes.
Okay.
It depends on the culture that you're from. Obviously, if you're the host, you're sitting at the head of the table. Okay? And you can do small invitations so that everybody knows where they're going to sit.
All right.
But how people sit is really an art, again. Because one of the most insulting things you can do is put people next to a very inappropriate person. Yeah? Inappropriate in the sense that, for example, for the single ladies, sometimes single ladies are going to parties to meet maybe somebody interesting.
Yeah.
So you can imagine putting a single lady in between two married men.
Unavailable men.
Unavailable. What have you done? And they have nothing in common. So yes, much as it's good, unless you've put them because maybe they have business interests, that's one thing. Yeah? But it would be nice to sit her next to a single man. You can match make them. For example, you've thought about it. And or maybe, there has to be thought into the guests that you're inviting.
Yes.
Do they have something in common if they don't know each other? Yeah. Sometimes we fall into this thing of just inviting the people we know, or people who know each other. It's good for people to come and meet new people. You see, and that's one of the reasons people will honor your invitation. And we are talking small parties, people. We're not talking like 200 people. We're talking home parties. Yeah. So then you want to maybe sit somebody next to someone that they have something in common, even if they've never met. Let me make you laugh.
Okay.
Once a friend of mine told me she was invited to this wedding, and she found herself on this table with all the exes.
No.
So the way you're asking somebody, so how do you know the bride and groom, or how do you know? I'm the ex. And then you realize all of you.
Funny, was she dating in the same circle?
She was the ex. And
she was the ex to the groom.
And the ex to the girlfriend. So they all said, we're going to invite our exes, and we're putting them on the same table. So that was really, that is really extreme, yeah. But it can be not good. So thought needs to go into that.
And then they put them in one table, all of them?
Yes.
Oh. Did they want to start like World War III at the wedding or something? Oh my Lord.
Oh yeah.
But that's a very good example of how you need to put thought into the seating arrangements. And I'm just thinking, people have sat down, and even after or even before sitting down, you have to sort of start some icebreakers to make these guys comfortable and start conversations. What are those good strategies or good channels of starting conversations?
It depends. So, for example, you're at a party, and maybe you've met somebody that you don't know, and maybe the host has not introduced you. So, number one, you don't, again, even as you're starting conversations, much as we've said, people go to parties to meet new people, you also don't want to appear as a guest to be too opportunistic. A lot of people, I know they do this. Where do you live? Where do your children go to school? Sometimes, what do you do? What do you do? Yes, there has to be an art in asking those questions, because then you appear too opportunistic. You just, when people ask me that, I always think you're trying to size me up. You want to know?
I usually like saying, come up with something and then ask in terms of industry. Which industry are you in?
Yeah, but still, so you want to be very tactical about that as a guest in terms of when you're interacting. A good thing to ask is, for example, how do you know the host? For how long have you known the host? When did you meet? Or maybe if you're having a drink, you can say, can I get you a drink? Or have you tried this? Have you tried this on the menu? Those are good conversation starters for guests if you're trying to interact with a guest, yeah? Of course, later on, I hope we'll talk about small party talk. But as a host, there are things you can do to get your guests to interact. Okay. So, for example, you could get them to introduce themselves and talk about maybe what they are thankful for in this season. And let me tell you, if you are alive today, over 5 million people in the world have died of coronavirus. There's something you're thankful about. Yeah? So a lot of people are thankful of so many things. That is a good icebreaker. And they could talk about maybe, tell us 3 things about yourself that we may not know. And, you know, that is such a good icebreaker, to make people start a conversation.
Yeah.
Usually very interesting.
Yeah. What's your thought on games?
Games.
Yeah.
Games are really good also, but not everybody may want to do a game.
Okay.
So you may just need to take a quick poll to see if people actually want to participate in the game. But things like karaoke are really good. You can host a karaoke party or something like that. You can have a caricature artist who can come, and some people, I went to this party, it was so hilarious. You know, this guy dressed up like a magician. Yeah, so you go and he's reading your hand. Whatever. It just was so interesting. Of course, it's not real. You know, like the way you have Santa, you know, fake Santas. And gosh, I hope my daughter is not watching. Santa is real. Sit there but they know there are some fake Santas. They come there, they pretend they so you can have many things you can do. Yeah.
Okay. So now the next thing I'd want to know is, sometimes you have done all these things, but there's some introverts. They're just shy people. And then sometimes there are people who cannot stop talking. Let me just say the bores. As a host, you have a mixture of people in your group. How then do you deal with someone who is shy, who is feeling, you know, it's too much, being in this space where everybody is talking, everybody is just out there, and then also how do you deal with someone who would not stop talking?
Somebody hogging the limelight and all that. For as long as they are not being rude and out of place, sometimes it's okay. There are some people who are just the life of a party, and there's nothing you can do about that. For as long as they're not being out of place and being like whatever, that will be out of control. If they're out of control, then you have to pull them aside and just let them, tone them down politely, sometimes because they may have drunk 1 or 2. And talking of drinking, this is water. Water.
It's not water.
Water. Yeah. They may have had 1 or 2. And maybe they are not even aware that they are loud. Yeah. So you may just want to let them know in a nice way, for as long as, you may. But I want to say something. Yeah. That, and this is something, by the way, I had to learn. That you must learn the art of small talk if you're going to go to a party. Why, especially the introverts, some people are just introverted, but some people are quiet at parties because they don't know what to say. Yes, because they do not know what to say. And there are some things you can do so that you know what to say. Obviously, let me talk about the host first.
Yes.
As a host, it's your job to ensure that everybody is comfortable. So if you see somebody seated in a corner alone and they are not talking to anyone, you may go there, take somebody, put them together with somebody who can help them. So you must rescue. As a host, you must rescue everybody and ensure everybody is having a good time. But even you as a guest, you have a job to do. Now, this is where the art of small talk and party talk comes in. So when it comes to party talk, last time we said this is not a place to come and air all your laundry and, talk all the deep psychotherapy things. No. This is the time for small talk.
Yes.
And one of the things, if you're awkward, you're feeling awkward, you don't know what to talk about, please, politics, try and stay away from politics, because all of us have different political inclinations, and as elections are drawing nearer, much as we need to have the independence to talk freely about politics with everybody, sometimes it just becomes, you want to stay away from politics. Yeah, we want that independence, but really, it can be very divisive sometimes. And I'm not, sometimes. You want to stay away from religion. Yeah? Because sometimes religious beliefs sometimes can be very wide, far and wide, and very divisive. Okay? So you want to stay away from that. So what do you want to do? You can talk about art, you can talk about music, you can talk about history, and so and this is something I always tell my students at the WMBA, the ones in terms of etiquette, because your network is going to be your net worth. It's about the number of people you know, the number of people who are going to ask you to plan their parties. So try and educate yourself in matters art. Yeah, this is everybody. You need to know about art. You need to know about music, not just Kenyan music alone, classical music, history of art. You need to know about, especially history. Yeah, educate yourself, current affairs, what's happening, economy. There are many things. Just ensure that you are. Some people, and I'm not talking badly, they're just, what is that show in the morning? Kang'ang'i show? This is their life.
Yeah. Gosh, my
yeah, like...
Victor, what is it called?
What is that show that everyone is watching in the morning?
King'ang'i and Maina. Maina and King'ang'i.
Yeah. Some people, that's just their life. And that's all they know. So when they are seated with... I'm not saying that's not intelligent, but intelligent people, we are talking about the economy. You don't even know what the interest rates are. So you have to be such that if you're put amongst economists, you can talk about the economy. If you're put in the midst of, I don't know which scientists, you can talk about maybe Elon Musk just came up with this thing and we're all going to the moon and we are going to space. Like, acquaint yourself. Just take maybe 5 minutes, watch international news. They keep on repeating. Just 5 minutes a day. Yeah? Just watch, just see what's happening on the international scene, local scene. Then search people of interest. Yeah, be wide.
Yeah.
You wanted to ask something?
No, I just wanted to point out. Point out.
That's all right.
That you put me on BBC Radio a few years ago.
Say it again. Nice is what the viewers here. Huh? There's a benefit in knowing me.
So Catherine put me on BBC Radio. I think it's 93.9. I'm not very sure, but it should be.
It was in class?
No, I was riding with you. Just one of those too many trips that we're taking. And you were always listening to 93. And it was so interesting.
Yes.
And you always said, feed your mind. Whatever, when you're talking, when you're driving or when you're jogging or taking your evening walk or whatever, just feed your mind. So I just find myself listening to 93.9
these days. Yeah, and I'm not being paid by BBC or anything like that, but I actually find their radio that they talk about unbelievable wide topics, like, oh my God, things that you've never heard of.
They even have plays. Like, I listened to a play on the radio and I was like, what?
Yes. And then the next time they're talking about something else, and you get international news, but you can also listen to podcasts, you can listen to many things, but feed your mind. Once you've fed your mind, you're now a whole person. So when you take yourself where people are, you can talk about anything. Anything, I'm telling you, yeah? If I met Obama, we can talk so many things without talking about American politics. And I've never met him. But if I met him, yeah, we would be able to engage. I would be able, if I met Uhuru today, we would be able to engage. And I would even stay away from politics. We just talk about different things. So ask yourself, yeah, as a party goer or just if you're viewing, how deep is how wide and deep is your knowledge? Yeah, and that is the first thing. So that when you are at a party, you know what's happening currently. You know you can go deeper into some of those. You know a little bit of everything here and there. And that way you feel comfortable. People are quiet because they don't know what to say. And lastly, on this topic of people being quiet, please, dear viewer, I want you to know that it's extremely, extremely bad manners to be at a table and you're not contributing in a conversation. Part of being a good guest is partaking, not just in what is offered to eat, but partaking in the conversation. So it is so rude to just sit there and not have a conversation. Even if you're an introvert, just try a little bit, yeah, so that you contribute to the whole party scene. Unfortunately, when you look at the popular TV, you find that, drama sells. So you find that a lot of reality shows, they thrive on party after party, party after... Wait, what happened to that song? Party after party, eh? Party after party.
It was like 2 billion years ago.
I know! So they're like party after party, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in those parties, because they have to cause drama, slap each other, pour whatever, do this, those are scripts. And let me tell you the drama, let me remind you, if you did not watch, drama belongs to the real housewives on TV in whatever city they are living in. They do not belong in your house or in your guest house. Let's try and live the real life. So in real life that you and me are living, please try and stay away from drama. Okay? Now, there could be instances where, for example, you're at a party and your ex arrives. Hey, with a new flame, hand in hand. Oh, so what should you do? And maybe you did not part well. Yeah? Some women, or even some men, cannot take it. Yeah? They maybe want to start a fight. So you then want to, perhaps as a host, you want to be sensitive about that. Like knowing these people, do you want them in the same? That's where the thought is coming into the guest list. Okay? But if you're a guest and that happens, you may just want to really hold and not do anything, or leave the party, or just do not create a scene if you are a guest. But as a host, be sensitive about these things. Try and match. Now, if a guest is out of control, like I said earlier on, perhaps they may not even know they're out of control. You want to pull them aside politely and you let them know that now you're being unruly, you're out of control, please control yourself. Here, drink some water, give them some water, let them rest somewhere, and maybe they'll come to their senses. You don't want them to lose face as much as possible. Try and not make people lose face. But if you have tried and
it's not working,
sometimes you just may have to tell them publicly in front of their friends, so their friends understand that, or even they understand that they are being out of control. If you've tried this and it's not working, then you want to, or if you do not want to create a scene, you want to call them aside and you want to be taken away. You want that person taken away, really seriously. So let me tell you a story. I just remember this was so hilarious. But we have to tell stories. So there was talking of people being locked away. So once I was talking to this wedding planner. So this was an evening party for a couple who just got married. And this guy had not been really, in fact, the day before he was getting married, he had been calling this other side chick, whom they even had a baby. She didn't know anything. The girl did not know anything. But apparently, this guy had been going around with so many other women. So these women decided, somehow this girl knew that this guy is getting married. This wedding was in Mombasa. The girl got on the next flight. She's going where? To Mombasa. She's going to stop this wedding. But even how are you stopping the wedding? So she arrives, and so the wedding was like around about 3 o'clock, and so she arrives, she goes, and the wedding planner, thankfully, is called. They so and so here, and they want to see the groom. So she's like, okay, let me come there. So she comes and she listens to the story. Then she calls the groom and says, this one you have to come and manage it yourself. So the groom says, you know what, just manage it for me. Manage that situation for me. So this planner, she just had to do what she had to do. She told them, now come. He's saying he's coming to see you. So, because she had a baby, a little baby she's breastfeeding. Like, this is, it's not...
She came with the baby to the...
She came, because she didn't know. She was just like, I didn't know. What am I going to do? How can he be getting married? Whatever. So this planner takes the baby to a room for her to sit there. She's being breastfed. She said, he's coming. What can we serve you? Lock the door. Goes to call the OCS. In the meantime, as she's going to call the OCS, there's another girl who has arrived at
No.
They were like
It gets worse.
There were like almost 4 women.
No.
And all of them were being taken. Oh, he's coming to see you. Yeah, they come. Lock them in the room. Whatever, come. Lock them in the room. And one of them was just insisting, me, I don't want to cause any whatever. I just want to have the first dance with him.
What?
So these were people who are, I'm like,
wait,
it's
how can you
sad,
have
like,
the first dance with the group?
by the way, this is real. It happened. And I think, Victor, we may have, I think we have that footage. And I think we have the show. You remember the planner called Kezia? She talked about it behind the scenes. We have it. We'll air that clip for our viewers. Yeah?
We can even link it somewhere on the screen.
Yes. And because you see, the planner had to do what she had to do because now these people are going to be so unruly. The bride did not know anything. She did not know any of, unfortunately she's late, but she did not know any of these things were actually going on. So this planner had to manage these guests who are threatening to be unruly. She locked them up in the room. They were happy, whatever it is they wanted, but they could not get out. And the room was really very far from where the event was happening. Yeah? So roundabout now, they were locked in there completely. And even if they made noise, so that room, it was sort of like the presidential suite or something like that. They couldn't jump out of the window. They couldn't whatever. They were put there until the wedding and the evening party ended. They were locked there. So what am I saying? If you have unruly guests, you may want to go and lock them up. Or just have them thrown out of the party. Yeah? But remember, it's a home event. So these are your friends. You've invited them to your intimate space. Yeah? So you want to deal with it in a different, and I'm not saying you deal with it the way this planner dealt with it. But yeah, it can just be like out of control. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I've learned so much today, but I just want to close with gifts. Last time we said, do not go to someone's house empty-handed. But this time you're the host, you're receiving. So what's happening around that? Is there anything to gifts?
Yes, there's a lot actually to gifts when you're a host. Number one, I think our viewers can go and watch. I talked about the 6 A's of entertaining, of guest experience, of hosting a party to ensure that the party, people are experiencing your party from the beginning to the end. And at the end, I talk about appreciation. So much as the guests are bringing you gifts, it is traditionally acceptable that you can give them a gift. Yeah, these are called party favors or something. You can give them that gift, and that is good. But also when you're receiving, especially for a small party, the ones we're hosting at home, if somebody brings, say, a dessert, put it on the table. If someone brings...
You don't put it in your fridge?
Even, yeah. If they bring a bottle of wine, open it. Let's all partake on the table. If they bring a gift, open it in front of everyone.
Okay.
Unless the guest has specifically asked you as the host not to open that gift. Yeah? You should actually open the gift. And please ensure you will write a thank you note, preferably handwritten.
Yes.
And that's why I was saying earlier on, I think in the previous show I mentioned, if you're doing invites, you know, you can just write a text or you can write an online invite, but it's so much more
personalized.
Here,
Yeah.
if it's so personalized with your handwriting.
Yeah.
You know, these days try and ask somebody, give me a pen. People don't even carry around pens. No one writes anything these days. Yeah? Well, at least with my friends. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people, sometimes we don't even have pens because we are no longer writing anything. Everything is digital. So when you have something that is handmade, handcrafted, handwritten. So send a personal thank you note to tell them that you really appreciate their gift. Yeah. And yeah.
All right. So are we ready to host? Are we ready to host?
Yes, I think so. I think the viewers need to tell us. You tell me, are you ready to host?
I'm ready to host. Let me run it through. First of all, I need to consider, if I'm hosting, I need to consider the people who are coming. And that means, wait. I think I've gone too far back. But, Victor, you'll cut that kidogo. Let me just summarize.
Don't try not to be yourself.
Yes, yes. Oh, okay.
So you're summarizing.
Yes. So I am ready to host because I have picked up a few things, and if I can just run it through. First of all, I need to think about the guests who are coming, and I need to think about that because I need to be able to sit them in a way that, you know, it's not inconveniencing any other person. And also I need to think about how I'll ensure that these guests are comfortable and they're having fun. So icebreakers, think about icebreakers, think about things that will get this conversation starting. Another thing that we need to consider is
how much you're spending.
Yes, how much you're spending, and you always want to keep it as simple as possible. You do not need to break the bank to have people around. You can have, if you have a garden, you can just pick some flowers from the garden. If you
we did today.
Yes. If you have, but the key to this is to invest in good cutleries,
plates,
that are going to last so long, so that whenever you have people around, you just whip out what you have in your cabinet, and the only thing you need to do is to maybe focus on the centerpiece and perhaps the food. So you have to keep it very simple. You do not need to break the bank to host people. You also want to be able to be on the lookout for shy guests, people who are introverted, or people who sort of hog other guests' time and whatnot. So you want to be almost a matchmaker within your circle, and to ensure that everybody is having a good time and everybody is present. Another thing that you want to consider is, what was the other thing? There's so many things. Rudeness. You want to take care of that very fast. In case something happens, maybe alcohol gets into people's head and a conflict arises, you as the host, you have to be almost the person who puts out that fire very quickly before it escalates, so that you just avoid any drama. A dinner party is not a place where drama, it's not a place for drama. So you always have to be on the lookout for that. And when it comes to gifts, you see sometimes you are inviting someone and they ask you, so what should I bring? And then you say, oh, yourself, bring yourself. But Catherine here says, accept the gift, because it takes away the pressure of, so for example, if you ask that and you say, come with some wine, it takes away the pressure of you getting some wine and whatnot. Accept the gift, open the gift in front of everyone, partake in the gift with your guests. So yes, I think I've learned something, and I want to believe that you have learned a lot of things about being a good host. And even as the festive season is just warming up, we'll be able to have really warm, really celebratory, create a very good ambience, and be a very good and a gracious host when you'll be having people over. So Catherine, I want to say thank you once again. It has been lovely as always. And any parting shot before we close?
Yeah, just remember your guests are coming to spend time with you. So you do not want to spend all your time in the kitchen, still preparing, cooking foods and all that. So like I said, pre-preparation. Try and set your table probably the night before. Get help, someone who can help you, cook meals. If you don't have somebody, not all of us have of various means. Some of us may actually hire a chef to come and just cater to your 6 guests. You know, you've laid a table for 6 guests. But some of us, like myself, I like to do things personally. So it means you prepare early. Pre-cook your food, pre-lay the table, so when your guests arrive, they're there to be with you, not you in the kitchen and your guests alone. Otherwise, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. Until next Wednesday, have yourself a lovely time.